What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going through the Royal Marines joining process because it's changed in the last few years. Before we get into the video then, I would like to ask you to subscribe and drop the video a like down below. Keeps me motivated to keep pumping out this content. So without further ado, the first stage in the joining process is to, of course, register your interest. So you go down to your careers office or you go online and you register your interest and say, I am interested in joining the Marines. This doesn't bind you into anything, this doesn't commit you to joining, it just tells them that you're interested. The very next stage after that then is the DAA, or the Defence Aptitude Assessment. This is an assessment of your overall intelligence. It goes through a couple of categories which I'm going to go through now. So the Defence Aptitude Assessment goes through verbal reasoning, numerical reasoning, work rate, spatial reasoning, electrical comprehension, mechanical comprehension. So those sections are assessed in various questions and various allotments of time. The best way, and for me the only way, to prepare for the Defence Aptitude Assessment is to do practice tests. On the Royal Navy website there is a practice test. However, it's the same one every single time, so once you've done that once, twice, 3 times, it gets a little bit old. One of the best resources I found for this is the How to Become series. So the How to Become series is just a book, essentially, that goes through a load of practice questions throughout the various topics. So your work rate, your numerical reasoning, your spatial reasoning, etc. The best way to practice for this is under time conditions.
3, 2, 1, go!
So do some research, make sure you know what the time conditions are for each segment because they are different. So for example, work rate just refers to how many questions you can answer within a specific short amount of time. So they're relatively simple questions, but it's a load of them in kind of 4 minutes. So practicing that, practicing under the stressful, pressured conditions of the test is going to pay dividends when you get to the test. If you just practice them to your own volition with no kind of time, no idea of how quickly, how slowly you're answering each question, you're probably going to come unstuck when you get to the test, which is what a lot of people do. Upon successful completion of the DAA then, you're going to be invited down for an interview. You'll have an interview with a careers advisor or with someone who works down at the careers office, making sure that you know what you're getting yourself into and making sure you've done some research and placed some investment into what this career is going to entail. So what kind of things are they going to ask you? Can't really go through the entire interview because that would defeat the object of the interview. However, they are going to ask you things like, why do you want to join the Marines? Why did you choose the Marines over other services? What have you done to prepare physically so far for the Marines? So jumping on my program is probably going to help you. And then stuff about core knowledge and core history. So generally memorable dates for the Corps. So Gibraltar, things like when they won Victoria Crosses or when members of the Corps won Victoria Crosses. Then they're going to probably ask you what you know about where the Corps are currently. So where the units are based, what they're kind of doing, what their role is within the ecosystem of the Royal Marines. So they're going to ask you all of these questions. So it's a good idea to first of all research all of these questions and make sure you have an answer prepared for them. But to go one step further than that and make sure you're absolutely solid as to what you're going to answer when they ask you these questions, go through it with a family member, have them ask you the question and repeat back your answer, your pre-prepared answer. That way when you get asked the question in the interview, it's not the first time you've been asked it ever, and you're not going to get like rabbit in headlights and freeze and not be able to answer the question. So at least if you've repeated it back to someone before, you know that when you get to that question in the interview or that kind of question in the interview, you first of all know the answer and you second of all have prepared your delivery for the answer. The other thing for the interview, of course, is personal presentation. So this just means how you show up during the day. So as soon as they see you, they're going to make a judgment as to whether you're well dressed, whether you're dressed smartly, whether you're hygienic, all of those things, whether you're well shaved, whether you've got a good clean haircut. All of those things are in your control, right? So let's get them squared away and go to the interview in a good state. Make sure you've got a good suit, make sure you're hygienic, you've washed, showered, you smell nice, and make sure your hair is not all over the place, it's nice and neat and tidy and you're well shaved. Okay, following the interview then, should you pass that, you go to a medical and an eye test. Pretty comprehensive medical and eye test, okay? They're going to find out whether you're ineligible medically to join the Marines. Clearly it's a physically demanding job. They're going to need to know whether you've got specific issues that are going to rear their ugly heads during training and cause some issues. Not too much more to say about the medical then, so they're just going to assess you. It's like any other medical that you would have. However, it's quite in-depth and they're going to make you do kind of the peak flow test to make sure you haven't got asthma, all those kind of things. Drop a question in the comments if you've got any questions about the medical. Following the medical then is the first time you get to show off your physical prowess. So you get the physical test, the PJFT, pre-joining fitness test for anyone who's uninitiated. This is 3 rounds for Marines and 4 rounds for officers. 20 burpees, 30 sit-ups, 20 push-ups and a minute plank. Okay, you get no rest in between and it's all done to a timed bleep. You can find the timed bleep on YouTube. I'll link it in the comments below. It's pretty tough, okay, if you haven't practiced it, if you haven't trained properly for it, you're probably going to come unstuck in terms of sticking to the beep and sticking to the technique they need you to show. Make sure you've done your research again as to what technique do I need to show, how regular are the beeps, have I practiced the test, can I do it, and also make sure that you are testing yourself on a regular basis. So during your preparation, you should be physically preparing long before you've applied, but certainly during the application process, things should start to ramp up. So you should be in a physical state where you can hit this test. However, just assuming that you're going to hit the test and hit the standards is probably not going to cut it, okay? You need to know for sure that you can hit that test before you go to it. So don't be booking that test until you can 100% without doubt hit those numbers, 20, 30, 20, 60 seconds, all right? Following the PJFT then, immediately following it, about 2 minutes later, you have to bang out 5 good pull-ups, okay, to the command of the PT. So I think they just go up, pause, down, pause, 5 of them. If you can't do 5 of them, you'll fail the entire test. So again, making sure that not only can you do 5 pull-ups on their own individually, but can you do 5 pull-ups on the back of 3 to 4 rounds of that circuit. How do you train for that circuit then? Okay, I have a complete course on how to train for it down below, but just a quick broad brush. If you're going to take anything from this video, take this. The way I really like to train for the PJFT is to section it out, okay? So 1 round at a time, we're going to do 1 round, rest 90 seconds, do that 8 times. Going to build loads and loads of familiarity, loads of volume in those movements. What we're going to do then is we're going to chop down the rest, okay? Keep chop down the rest, until the rest is almost negligible, 15 seconds, right? And then you can start to bring down the rounds as well. So we're looking at coming down to a point where we're doing kind of 5 rounds, 15 seconds rest, holding really good form, and then we know when we test it, okay, when we do 3 rounds with no rest to the beep, we know we can hit it pretty easily. Okay, the next and final part of the joining process for the Royal Marines is the candidate preparation course. So the 2.5 to 3 day course down at Lympstone. This is the last thing you do before you go to training. Test-wise then, it pretty much consists of physical tests in the gym, so push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups and a bleep test. And then it also consists of a determination test on the 2nd day. You also get swim tests, but if you can swim to a relatively good standard, you'll be fine with that. Push-up standards are 30 to the beep, sit-up standards are 40 to the beep, and pull-ups are 4 to the beep. The bleep test you need to hit 10.8. Provided you hit all of those, okay, you'll move on to the 2nd day, which is the actual tough bit. This is where the hard work starts. Again, if you're going through the first phase, the first day, this should be a box ticking exercise essentially. You should have done it many times in training. You should know absolutely you can hit all of those tests. You should be able to be well above the minimum standards, which is what I've just been through there. Once you get onto the 2nd day, you're going through the bottom field assessment and the endurance course periodically. So the bottom field, you get thrashed around for a little bit. They'll basically assess your want and need to be there. They're going to put you through crawls, duck walks, hill sprints, carries, you name it, you're going to do it. Probably things you won't have seen or won't have done in a regular gym setting, but that's the idea, to expose you to things that you haven't done in a regular gym, and so that the body has to go, whoa, what's going on now? And you're actually in a state of shock, and then you're mentally having to respond to that by tapping into a little bit of determination. You'll then get a rest and you go to the endurance course, which is more of the same but in a different terrain and probably a little bit tougher. By that point you're fatigued and you're going to be experiencing a lot of doubt in the mind whether you can get through this. This is the idea, making sure that you're 100% in, and regardless of what they throw at you, you can get past it, okay, and just say, I'm going to keep moving regardless of what happens. The endurance course finishes then with a 4 mile or 3 to 4 mile run back to camp. Once you've completed that run back to camp, that's pretty much the course over, and you should have shown enough to get through and pass on to the next stage of training. In terms of preparation for the CPC then, again down below will be my programs and my academy to help you prepare for this. However, quick broad brush statement, if you're not going to go there and check it out, there's a 7-day free trial, so why wouldn't you? But anyway, what I would recommend is doing plenty of resistance training, plenty of running, plenty of zone 2 work. Certainly when you're starting out your training, you need to be building up a good base. You need to be making sure that you're good enough at the bleep test, making sure that minimum standards you can hit the tests, so you can hit 30, 40, 4 and 10.8 on the relative tests. Making sure you can hit over that is absolutely paramount, because when you get to the test on that day, you're not necessarily going to be fresh. What a lot of people do and how they fall foul of this is they'll do their press-ups on their push day, and then they'll just do that on their own, say, yeah, I can pass 32 push-ups, job done. However, when you get to the day and you're nervous, you're tired, you're dehydrated, whatever it is, you're being shouted at, your form has to be stricter because you're on the day, those 32 push-ups quickly become 28, 26, 25, and then people start to fail. So making sure that you can do 40, 45 push-ups, 50, 55, 60 sit-ups is paramount, and making sure you can do them in sequence. Also not neglecting weight training, because obviously we need to be strong, we need to be resilient, we also need to be resistant to injury. A lot of the things we're going to be asked to do on the bottom field and on the endurance course require us to move other people across distance. If we're not strong and not enduring, we haven't got that resilience in the muscle and in the tendons, then we're likely going to get injured. And if that's not going to happen, then the other thing is we're going to break down, and the legs are going to break down, and then quickly followed by the legs is the mind, and then you're going to quit. Okay, immediately following CPC, then you'll get a date for ROP. You will get a date probably 4-8 weeks away, just making sure you maintain or continue to build your fitness throughout that period so that you can rock up at ROP, recruit training, with a really good chance to get through the next 8 to 9 months of rigorous Royal Marines training. Cool, that's a wrap then. That's the video. Royal Marines joining process explained, little bits of how to prepare for each stage and the sequence of events after hitting that application button. If you enjoyed that video, make sure you drop it a like and subscribe down below. Also check out the links in the description for my military preparation seminar day, which happens in July on the 22nd in Birmingham. Come and rock up to that. I'd love to see you there. My academy programming, which is getting hundreds of people ready for CPC and the PJFT and subsequently Royal Marines training, or the military as a whole if you're looking to join the military. My website, which again is getting people ready for the Royal Marines or whatever physical endeavour that you might be taking on. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.